Well, very good morning to you on the Old Geezer's Diary. My name's Chris Gosling and I am allegedly the Old Geezer. And today's topic, well, you can see it down there. Do we deserve a better working system of government? I'm going to have to ask you to excuse me for the cough because it seems to have come on. And the question I want to ask is anything, literally any system that we can have, better than members of parliament? Because over the last few months, I guess you'd say, we've seen members of parliament at their worst. I think so. We've seen members of parliament who can't make their minds up about anything, who can't apparently sort out a simple negotiating situation with the European community. They've had years to do it and they haven't kind of done it. And we have to ask, is this the way we should be running our country? Purely personally, I would say, no, it isn't. I like the idea of actually looking at better ways of running the UK as a country. And as a country that essentially looks after its population. That's you and me, guys. We get all kinds of odd stories from all kinds of odd people. The current bit of, I guess you'd say, political worry, I don't know what you call it really. I think there's a lot of Project Fear, as someone called it, kicking about with politicians. They constantly try and frighten the population with things that could go wrong, that might go wrong, that will go wrong. And one of the ones that they use currently is like the NHS and like social services for old people. That's you and me probably. And it's quite a scary situation. So we need to find a better way of governing our country than relying on 635 people whose main objective is to get re-elected next time round because they're on a £80,000 a year gravy train and they don't want to get off. Okay, now I don't know whether I've mentioned this in the past, but the truth is I'm a big radio listener. When I'm out in the car, I have the radio on. Dot and I have a constant argument whether we're going to listen to, in her case, yeah, I think so actually, Luke. In her case, it's Radio 2, and in my case, it's Radio 4. And recently I heard a fantastic show on Radio 4 which really rung my bells. And what the man suggested was that we should have a system in which, here we go, ready for this, in which we get rid of all the MPs. That's a few £100 million a year out of the equation. Doesn't matter really, does it? Because I'm now going to spend it again. What we need is instead, let's say 635, 735, does it matter? Individual people, ordinary Brit citizens who we effectively conscript into the Houses of Parliament. So instead of taking these long-term MPs who earn big money and essentially often don't do much for it, what we'd have is 800, 600 ordinary people who are not paid up members probably of any political party, just ordinary people with ordinary everyday opinions, and we put them in Parliament for a year. All the questions that arise that we need to resolve, so things like social services, things like income tax, things like armies and navies and what we do with stuff, all gets referred to them. And they can vote on it, they can discuss it, they can essentially have the run of the place for a year. There would be some quite questionable decisions, I've no doubt, but I think actually, based on what I heard in that Radio 4 programme, it is just as likely that these people will make sensible, reasonably well-informed decisions as long as they have the backup from civil servants, etc., as our politicians might make. Because the reality is that politicians are just people who are out for themselves anyway and don't have a great deal going on for the rest of us. So there you have it. That is my theory of government revision. What I don't think we'll ever do is achieve it. certainly not in my lifetime, for goodness sake. But in reality, I don't think we would ever achieve it, because what it does mean is that we'd have to get rid of the bloody MPs. And MPs are effectively a self-serving and effectively self-continuing group of people. To get a new political system, you'd have to do two things, one of two things. One, you'd have to shoot the buggers, which is not a good idea. We know that from that poor young woman, don't we? But getting them out to replace with a more logical and sensible system is something that's really a hard question. How do you do it? I don't know, is what everybody would say. But the reality is that one way or another, at some point in the future, we're going to have to replace or reinvent the political system by which our country is governed, because it is becoming increasingly clear that politics as we have it now does not work, or do not work. Politics, really and truly, we are loaded down with politicians who don't like making decisions unless those decisions favour them themselves. That's my honest opinion. There you have it. I don't know where we'll go with this one, so I'm going to put this online, I'm going to stick it on YouTube, and we'll say, don't we need a system of government that works better? Your opinion is seriously solicited. I would love to hear from you, and I'd love to hear what you think. Okay, I'm Chris. This is the Old Geezer's Diary, and I have to tell you, I will see you